Chapter 683. She looked like she couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with White Bear. But the next moment, Bei Yunj had just grabbed the weapon when the White Bear blocked Bei Yunj's way with his body. Bei Yunj tried to calm herself down. Let's make a deal? What exactly do you want? Look at that rabbit. It seems quite big, White Bear said. Bei Yunj, ? White Bear still wanted to use its lack of language to influence Bei Yunj and try to make Bei Yunj regain her conscience. What if it's Daddy Rabbit? There might still be babies and Mommy Rabbit waiting for it at home. Looking at Bei Yunj's silence, White Bear felt that he was about to succeed. If we kill it, won't we destroy someone else's happy family? Bei Yunj couldn't help but look up at him. The urge to press White Bear's head into the ground was almost uncontrollable. The next moment, Bei Yunj smiled slightly. Why don't you think that Daddy Rabbit is a scumbag who cheated on you? There must be an effect for every cause and its retribution is me. White Bear. A few minutes later, Bei Yunj looked at White Bear sitting on the ground with a little rabbit in his arms and smiled honestly. How did this person, who didn't kill, enter the war zone? Did he not train to eat in the wild? Bei Yunj's eyebrows twitched. In the end, he squatted down slowly and poked the little rabbit's head with his index finger. He smiled lazily and asked, "Aren't you going to send it home? A little rabbit can't be a scumbag." White Bear seemed to really like this cute little animal. He hugged it for a long time reluctantly. Finally, after White Bear let go of the rabbit, the two of them sat down to eat the dry food. Bei Yunj hadn't eaten dry food for a long time. He only ate a little and gave up eating. You didn't eat these when you were training? Bei Yunj drank some water and asked. Love me. I've eaten them before, but they were all live snakes and scorpions. After all, we don't have a choice if we encounter an unexpected situation. White Bear said sincerely. Bei Yunj nodded and rested her chin on her hand as she looked at the time. More than 20 minutes had passed. Suddenly, White Bear received the news in his headset. White Bear, please answer if you hear me. Got it. What happened? White Bear asked immediately. Is Miss Pei here? The other party seems to know about it. We have equipment on our side. White Bear immediately relayed the message to Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj's eyes twitched. It's been so long. Isn't it normal to know? White Bear, then what should we do now? Don't forget your natural advantage when you lure people into the minefield. White Bear thought for a while before he understood what Bei Yunj meant. Alright, soon. Luda, who had finally turned the tables, couldn't help but laugh. He deliberately used the loudspeaker of the SUV and spoke in the language of country. A great country? It's just a. Where are they? Didn't I ask you to look for Miss Pei? Fatty gritted his teeth and asked. Miss Pei asked us to lure people into the minefield. Hearing this, Fatty was stunned. Minefield? At this moment, Chen Hu reacted faster than Fatty. Brothers, south of the minefield. The south of the minefield was the minefield they had set up. Team Blue and Team Red, who scored full marks in the previous minefield assessment. Fatty also had an epiphany and reacted. Luda and the others sensed an unusual aura. Chapter 684. This group of people isn't that powerful. Luda's team members, who had the upper hand again, obviously did not take their opponents seriously. Don't underestimate the enemy. However, Luda was still a little traumatized. How did that person do it and locate all of their members? If they were able to master this kind of technology, Luda could not suppress the greed in his eyes, but his rationality reminded him. That person was not to be trifled with, and he probably would not join his faction easily. At the same time, Chen Hu and the others had already started to lure the bait. Lin Shui, you must be careful. I believe in your speed. The weather gradually turned cold, but the few people who were lying in ambush were sweating profusely. They could only force themselves to focus. Captain, don't worry. I will definitely complete the mission. Lin Shui swallowed his saliva, gritted his teeth, and quickly passed through the forest. At the same time, the sound of a wooden gun quickly rang out, shocking everyone. Lin Shui! Chen Hu shouted. Lin Shui's body was agile and he quickly dodged the bullet. However, his clothes were torn at his knees. Lin, who was watching the scene, could not help but be shocked. It was too difficult to protect this land. Aren't we letting these bastards risk their lives? It was Lin's first time seeing such a scene. Old Master Ling smiled at him. Otherwise, do you think you can be so safe sitting in the computing institute? Lin was speechless. Lin Shui has always been a very capable newcomer in our district. Nothing must happen to him. Captain Gao could not help but clench his fists and mutter. A few minutes later, Lu Da's teammates could not help but curse. F***CK, is he provoking us? Ba Shan Academy, he had been jumping around in front of them. The most infuriating thing was that they could not hit him. He had been jumping around all this time. Lu Da's expression darkened. Moss, go and change the wooden gun. Hearing that, Moss immediately understood. He immediately went to the back and took out the box. When he opened it, it was a wooden gun. The corners of Moss's mouth curled into a strange sneer, with a hint of viciousness. Are you jumping around blindly? I'll send you to hell. At the same time, Lin Shui was accidentally hit in the thigh and his speed gradually decreased. On Dai Dan's side, she was also looking for the enemy's approximate location and getting people to sneak in. Lin Shui, quickly find a place to hide. Chenhu said. Dai Dan's voice suddenly rang out, no. If Lin Shui is hiding, they will discover our movements. When Chenhu's team members heard this, they were enraged. What the F***CK do you mean? If you lose, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Dai Dan pursed her lips, but her hand was still looking for the location. In the control room. What's wrong with you girls? Lin asked. At this time, it's normal for her to do this in order to be foolproof. Old Master Leng understood Dai Dan's cold-blooded actions very well. But Lin frowned. But she didn't find the location at all. How can you be so sure that nothing will go wrong? Lin was puzzled. Old Master Leng and Captain Gao were stunned when they heard that. What did you say? They were laymen. When they saw the few dots on the computer, they thought that Dai Dan had found the exact location. She ordered it herself. Are you kidding me? All the internet equipment is gone. How can she find the location? Lin frowned. Chapter 685. What's wrong with this female comrade? Old Master Leng was about to explode. This was the first time he had seen such an impulsive person. Captain Gao pursed his lips and could not help but frown. She wants to win. However, Dai Dan was too confident. She thought she could make the right bet. But now, she was gambling with someone else's life. And it was her teammate's life. You want to win like this? Old Master Leng's expression was ugly. I'll give the order. At this moment, just as Captain Gao finished speaking, another person suddenly appeared on camera. He was holding a wooden gun. Captain Gao subconsciously blurted out, Lin Shui, be careful. Lin Shui turned his head and noticed Moss. Go to hell. Moss laughed as he lifted the wooden gun. Soon, bullets shot out like a storm. Lin Shui immediately hid behind a tree, but the bullets were too old, so he was inevitably hit by 2 bullets. They heard Lin Shui's painful groan. The people from both teams were in their throats. Lin Shui. Chen, who subconsciously shouted and immediately said, Lin Shui, leave quickly. The tree will fall. However, at this moment, Lin Shui's leg was injured and he could not move at all. He could not avoid the bullets. Lin Shui gritted his teeth and glanced at the grass beside him. He noticed the low slope behind him. He made up his mind and rushed to the right. After bending his knees, his entire body quickly rolled down the low slope. Even old Master Leng became nervous at this scene. Moss's expression darkened when he saw that the person had actually dodged while he was not paying attention. He changed the handle of the wooden gun and gradually walked over. So there's a low slope. Moss sneered. Very good, this will be your burial ground. With that said, Moss walked towards the low slope. When Lin Shui also picked up the wooden gun and knew that he only had 1 bullet left, he took a deep breath. Lin Shui gritted his teeth and focused on the slope. At this moment, however, Moss wanted to catch Lin Shui off guard. He walked from the side of the low slope and saw the back of Lin Shui's head. His eyes were dark as he sneered silently. The wooden gun silently met Lin Shui's head. Lin Shui, be careful. Captain Gao subconsciously shouted. The people in the monitoring room were also on tenterhooks. But before Lin Shui could react, it was already too late. Lin Shui couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Just as he turned his head, he heard the sound of a wooden barn. He quickly closed his eyes. But after 2 or 3 seconds he didn't feel any pain. What's going on? Lin Shui subconsciously turned his head and saw Bei Yunj not far away. One of her beautiful eyes was closed, and her finger was still on the trigger. No one noticed that the evil redness in the depths of the girl's eyes was constantly moving. Miss Pei? Lin Shui's voice caused everyone to be stunned. Miss Pei saved Lin Shui. The evil redness in the girl's eyes gradually disappeared. Bei Yunj's eyes flickered. He quickly turned around and pulled the trigger at the foreign man who had suddenly stood up on the mountain top in the distance. He could only see that the person not far away had fallen to the ground. This move shocked White Bear greatly. Miss Pei, what are you doing? Bei Yunj threw the weapon back to White Bear. I didn't have time to tell you just now. White Bear, so you did it yourself? Originally, White Bear thought that Bei Yunj needed his protection. But now, he couldn't tell who he was protecting. Chapter 686. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, the White Bear obediently carried him up. Lin Shui, who was carried up? Wait, let's bandage it first. Bei Yunj saw the blood on Lin Shui's leg and subconsciously took a step back. Lin Shui, could his disdain be any more obvious? After Bei Yunj sensed Lin Shui's complicated gaze, he added, I'm a little dizzy from seeing blood. Lin Shui, that's not what the wooden warehouse in your hand said just now. In the monitoring room, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Bei Yunj had arrived in time just now. If Bei Yunj had not come at that time, Lin Shui would have lost his life. Miss Pei, why does she know how to use a wooden warehouse? Captain Gao now felt that Bei Yunj was really mysterious. The first time they met, she looked like a rich and powerful young lady. But in the end, this person kept breaking everyone's understanding. Not only was she the rumored scientific researcher, but she also knew how to use a wooden warehouse? Where did such a godlike person come from? Old Master Lung looked at the girl on the screen and felt his heart ache. If it weren't for the fact that Zhong Shenglin had gone crazy searching for an heir for so many years, he would definitely snatch her away from him. This guy was really too good of a seedling. Zhong Shenglin was really lucky. Only Cui Hengchuan kept taking notes. There was a hint of seriousness in his gentle eyes. Dr. Cui, what did you find? Zhong Shenglin turned around and asked curiously. Nothing. Cui Hengchuan smiled. When Zhong Shenglin nodded and did not pay any more attention, he was deep in thought. The emotions that appeared in Bei Yunj's eyes just now appeared in his mind. It was a coldness that had never appeared before and some kind of emotion that had been stimulated. However, not long after. Bei Yunj controlled it very well. A hint of interest flashed across Cui Hengchuan's eyes. He could not help but take out a photo of Bei Yunj. Not long after. He did not put it back in the medical record. Instead, he put it in the pocket of his white coat. Meanwhile, the few people who were supposed to infiltrate were almost all injured. When Dai Dan heard this news, her expression changed. How is that possible? She couldn't have analyzed it wrongly. Tiger Chen and Fatty both knew what was going on, but on the field, no one wanted to pursue the matter. Dai Dan, we'll settle this when we get back. After Chin who finished speaking, he asked, Miss Pei, are you there? A clear and pleasant voice was like a calming pill, making people feel at ease. Yes, it's here. Soon, Chen who analyzed the current situation to Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj didn't have a computer, so he could only recall the topographic map. The bushes over there are too easily exposed. They won't hide there. Let's see if there's a river with more floating grass. Bei Yunj remembered that there was such a terrain in that area. Not long after. The people who were still surveying exclaimed in surprise, There's such a river. Miss Pei, what happened next? What happened next? Pei Yunji's lips curled up as she said slowly, "Throw the grenade in and hide further away." Everyone, they didn't know why. Sometimes, when they were facing Miss Pei, their scalps would go numb. When she heard Pei Yunji's voice, Dai Dan pursed her lips. Her thoughts were in a mess. She kept thinking about her wrong judgment. She was 90% confident about this matter. But now that she had failed, she might be punished. Chapter 687. On the other side. A few team members followed Pei Yunji's instructions and threw a grenade into the river. Not long after, a loud explosion caused a huge wave. The fire spread, and even the driftwood turned red for a moment. Soon, they stuck their heads out and saw that the green river had turned blood red. Their scalps went numb. Fortunately, they did not cross the river just now. Otherwise, they would not have known that there was someone hiding in the water. Reporting, Miss Pei is telling the truth. There's someone inside. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. At the same time, this made Dai Dan's heart tighten. She also had a question that troubled her. And this question happened to be asked by someone else first. How did Miss Pei know that there was someone in the river? Pei Yunji was not at the scene. Pei Yunji adjusted his earphones and lowered their volume. I guessed it according to the topographic map just now. Hearing this, White Bear and Lin Shui could not help but look at Pei Yunji. Pei Yunji did not have a computer. It was obvious that he had just memorized the topographic map. This brain capacity, everyone's scalps went numb. When Dai Dan heard this, her heart ached even more. She felt like she had been slapped in the face. She could not even compare to an unprofessional girl. Along the way, Pei Yunji had been listening to Chin Hu and Fatty's arrangements most of the time. He was calm and casual. He would only give them some advice occasionally. Lu Da's face was ashen. What's going on here? Lu Da, is it the girl who saved that person just now? The injured team member asked. Lu Da could not help but frown when he heard this. How was this possible? At this moment, Meng Liang was more excited than anyone else. It's her. It must be her. You know her? Didn't you say that that person is a computer expert? Lu Da asked. But how could a real battlefield only test computer skills? If that was the case, then there was no need for them. Meng Liang immediately shook his head. Lu Da, that person is not simple. Don't underestimate her. Lu Da gritted his teeth. Only then did he realize how peaceful his first 20 years as a mercenary had been. But now, he was being completely suppressed by a little girl. I understand. Lu Da gritted his teeth and his gaze darkened. This time, he had to take it seriously. Lu Da opened his palm and glanced at his chip. His expression turned cold as he swallowed the item. Lu Da. Meng Liang did not have the time to say anything. If I die, they must come and take my body. Lu Da instructed his subordinates. His subordinate was not convinced. It's just a woman. Lu Da, don't be too negative. That's right, that hateful woman. I must kill her. Lu Da also had a ferocious expression. He had actually forced him to this extent. Indeed, he deserved to die. Miss Pei, you're really a genius. You're too amazing. Someone couldn't help but praise. Pei Yunji said unhurriedly, the other party has been fooled for so long. He'll be serious. Does Miss Pei have any ideas? Someone immediately asked. It was as if Pei Yunji could solve all problems. Pei Yunji responded and said slowly, everyone, do your best. Protect me well. Everyone was speechless. Pei Yunji glanced at his watch and remained calm. He estimated that there were still 20 minutes. What was unexpected was that Chen Hu actually managed to capture Meng Liang with his men. Meng Liang struggled with all his might. Let go of me. I'm no longer a household register here. You have no right to touch me. Chapter 688. As he struggled, Meng Liang saw an excessively beautiful girl beside him. Are you the person who called me just now? Who are you? Pei Yunji raised her eyebrows and glanced at the middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s, but she had no intention of paying attention to him. She glanced at her watch and smiled lazily. 14 minutes. Meng Liang immediately realized that Bei Yunj had said 1 hour. Then, he couldn't help but laugh crazily. Do you think you've won? Let me tell you you've lost. Seeing this, the others couldn't help but frown. They felt that Meng Liang was implying something. Bei Yunj's eyes flashed and she quickly thought of something. Meng Liang's smile gradually disappeared and he looked at her warily. What are you trying to say? Bei Yunj walked around him and sized up the off-road vehicle. She asked intentionally or unintentionally, your off-road vehicle doesn't seem to have much oil. Meng Liang immediately panicked when he was asked this, but he pretended to be calm. You've already planned this route in the Great Eagle Forest, right? Bei Yunj's voice sounded slowly. Hearing this, no idiot would blatantly fly at high altitudes near the war zone. Bei Yunj was wearing black leather gloves and playing with the bristlegrass in her hand slowly. Her eyes were impudent and arrogant. Isn't that right, Mr. Meng? Don't waste your time. I won't reveal it. Team Tiger, go to the nearby river zone and search for people. Meng Liang's heart skipped a beat when he heard Bei Yunj's voice. Fear gradually spread. This girl who looked young was really too scary. Search in the south of the river zone. There's a cliff in the north. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, Fatty hesitated for a moment and asked tentatively, Miss Pei, do you remember all the topographic maps? Bei Yunj changed the topic and suddenly looked at Meng Liang. Her beautiful and bright eyes seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. You? Meng Liang felt inexplicably guilty. You're too arrogant. In the control room. Does this brain really exist? Old Master Ling asked a question that Si Qingyan asked every day. This area isn't too big. Bei Yunj said. Everyone, this hopeless academic flunky. It was just 2 foreign names, but they had actually become so wordy. Zhong Lin glanced at Old Master Ling. How else do you think she got both the Farisk and Busaka nominations? All right. Stop arguing. It gives me a headache, Old Master Ling immediately said. Zhong Lin, Bei Yunj shouted, White Bear. When White Bear heard the coldness in Bei Yunj's tone, he quickly stepped forward and punched Meng Liang in the stomach. It made Meng Liang's face contort. After seeing a bug like Bei Yunj with his own eyes, Meng Liang was a little devastated. Let me go. Let me go. I'm telling you, there's no way you can win. Before Meng Liang could finish speaking, this action shocked everyone. They all looked at White Bear in confusion. When did he have such a good relationship with Miss Pei? Bei Yunj walked up to him and patted his face gently with a gentle smile. Her eyes were casual and arrogant. This isn't something you should worry about, understand? Miss Pei, do you want to come with us? Fatty thought for a moment and asked. Chapter 689. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and glanced at White Bear, but she agreed. That's great. White Bear was the happiest. He wanted to participate in this mission as well. However, he had to stay away from the danger zone to protect Bei Yunj. Let's drive. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows when she saw the broken window of the Jeep. Miss Pei, do you know how to drive? After Bei Yunj said that, White Bear became excited again. He couldn't hide his joy. That's great. However, a few minutes later, another thing suddenly occurred to them. Miss Pei, how old are you this year? I'm almost 20. Bei Yunj sat in the driver's seat and answered. Do you have a driver's license? Bei Yunj paused and glanced at Chinhu. She smiled and said, no. The next moment, before anyone could react, Bei Yunj stepped on the accelerator and drove to the maximum speed. Everyone? They were near the river zone. Everyone took a deep breath. If not for their good physical fitness, they would have been killed by Bei Yunj's driving skills. They couldn't let Bei Yunj drive next time. This was their first thought. However, Bei Yunj glanced at the marks on the ground and her sharp eyes saw some inconspicuous bloodstains. It's right in front. Bei Yunj said in an orderly manner. Hearing this, everyone scanned their surroundings and quickly headed towards the river zone. Over there. White Bear said immediately. Parkway. Everyone turned to look at the yacht not far away. However, in the next second, Bei Yunj's eyes moved and she quickly pulled White Bear back. Be careful of the bullets. Fortunately, Bei Yunji's warning was fast enough. Everyone avoided the bullets. In the blink of an eye, the next round of battle began again. However, the gradually increasing distance, the yacht's constantly changing route, and the cunning opponent made him feel somewhat powerless. Unable to accurately hit the enemy, Bei Yunji thought for a moment, then adjusted his Bluetooth, and his voice was clearly heard by everyone. Do you know where the yacht's gasoline is stored? Break through the iron sheet and the storage box. Hearing this, everyone quickly changed their target, which made the few people on the yacht feel a little strange. Why were these people getting more and more off target? But soon they reacted. They're attacking our fuel tanks. Luda and the others' faces changed. At this moment, when Bei Yunji saw that there was a gas leak, she asked White Bear, "Do you have tracers?" White Bear braced himself. Bei Yunji, what about the incendiary bombs? They do. White Bear quickly loaded the incendiary bomb into the gun. What are you going to do with it? Bei Yunji looked at the people on the yacht and already knew their intentions. She did not have time to explain to White Bear. She took the wooden gun from White Bear, closed her left eye gently, and aimed at the spot where the oil was leaking. Her slender finger pressed the trigger. There was a loud bang. A flash of fire passed through and ignited the gasoline on the surface of the sea. Then, the entire simple yacht burst into flames. In an instant, the entire place was ablaze. Everyone present was shocked. They subconsciously looked at the girl who had just opened the gun. Was she really not a King trained person? Go and catch them. Don't let them escape. Bei Yunji raised her eyebrows. Luda and the others cursed along the way, saying that these people were playing dirty tricks. Chapter 690. Luda, there's someone there. Hearing this, Luda immediately raised the wooden gun and prepared to kill that person. But the next moment, a strange light flashed across his eyes and he put down his weapon. Go and capture him. After saying that, soon, someone pushed a young boy who was only wearing pants over. Who are you? Luda asked in the local language that wasn't very standard. The boy probably didn't expect to meet a few people with wooden guns. His expression didn't look good and he didn't say anything. Speak. Another team member next to him immediately pointed a dagger at his throat. Don't touch him, Luda said in a deep voice. Luda, you. That person wanted to say something but hesitated. Luda glanced at him indifferently. As long as he's here, our chances of winning will be higher. Hearing this, everyone immediately understood. They kept an eye on the boy along the way, not giving him any chance to escape. Luda was mentally prepared to be captured by these people again. Seeing these people chasing after him, he sneered. You guys are really amazing. I have to say, I admire you guys. Bei Yunji, who was behind him, just casually glanced around and didn't plan to go forward. Come back with us now. Chen, who pointed at him with the wooden gun. Hearing this, Luda suddenly laughed and grabbed the boy's neck with one hand. Is that so? Don't act rashly. I don't want to hurt the innocent. Where did this child come from? Someone subconsciously frowned and asked. At this moment, there was actually such an episode. How about this? I can apologize with my death, but you have to let my brother go. Allow them to take my body away. How about that? Luda's eyes were like an eagle's as he stared at them and asked. 2020-inch, this is not a worthwhile transaction. Furthermore, there is no good transaction that would be carried out with threats. Chenhu laughed. Everyone was thinking about how to save the boy. The safety of the innocent hostage was the most important. What does Miss Pei think? Chenhu asked. Only then did Pei Yunji look up and meet Luda's eyes. Soon, Luda reacted. This was the person Meng Liang was talking about. His heart sank. Sure enough, Bei Yunji spoke up in the next moment. She chuckled. Isn't the corpse a little troublesome? What about the ashes? There's an idiom in our country that goes like this: burn the bones and scatter the ashes. Immediately, the faces of Luda and the others changed. This was especially true for Luda, who felt an inexplicable sense of panic. Did this person discover something, so he did it on purpose? The corpse had been burned to ashes, so how could the chips still be there? Arrogant. Don't you dare. Lu Da's team members said angrily. Let us go. Otherwise, this little boy won't be able to live. Lu Da thought for a moment and suddenly laughed. I don't want to involve innocent people. I wonder if that beautiful lady is willing to be a hostage. White Bear's face sank. Impossible. The others thought the same. Especially in the monitoring room, the people who were watching this scene were on tenterhooks. No matter what. With Bei Yunji's status, she could not become a hostage. Sergeant Gao could not help but give the order. Everyone, don't forget what the most important mission this time is. Protect Bei Yunji. This was their first mission. No. Chapter 691. But is it possible for all of you to leave safely? Lu Da smiled and said, I believe that this beautiful lady was involved in the plan just now. Of course, I won't take revenge on you. I just want to use you in exchange for a chance to leave alive. Bei Yunji chuckled nonchalantly and walked between the two parties. All right, let the child go first. As soon as Bei Yunji finished speaking, White Bear shouted nervously, Miss Peiyu. Bei Yunji only glanced at him and walked slowly towards him. Just as their eyes lit up, they saw Bei Yunji playing with a familiar object in her hand. It was a grenade. This was a warning to them to let the child go. Lu Da's expression changed and he could only say one sentence through gritted teeth, let the child go. He really believed that this person was the one who had been messing with his plan from the beginning to the end. In the beginning, these people didn't have any advantage. But later on, they were beaten to the point where they couldn't even fight back. Seeing the boy walk in front of her, he called out guiltily, Sis? Sis? He was afraid that this sister of his would lose her life in order to save him. Bei Yunji sized him up and patted his head before walking forward. She smiled casually and said, You can swim quite well. The boy looked down at his wet pants. He lived in a village 3,000 to 4,000 meters away. He swam nearly 2,000 meters near the river before reaching here. Not long after the hostage exchange was successful, someone pointed a wooden gun at the back of Bei Yunji's head from behind. The team member took Bei Yunji hostage and glanced at the others provocatively. However, Bei Yunji did not look nervous from the beginning to the end. No one noticed that Bei Yunji glanced at her wristwatch. Let's retreat. With Bei Yunji in their hands, the others didn't dare to use force. White Bear asked anxiously, What should we do? What should we do? Miss Pei is in their hands. In the monitoring room. Old Zhong, calm down. Guo was willing to be a hostage. Don't be anxious, Old Master Lung said quickly. Zhong Shenglin's face was ashen, and his heart was in a mess. These bastards? Don't worry, Ger is very important to them. Nothing's going to happen. Old Master Ling quickly comforted him. Cui Hengchuan asked casually, Elder Ling, have the other teams been transferred over? They should be here soon. Old Master Ling took the opportunity to reassure Zhong Shenglin. I don't care. If these people dared to touch even a strand of my Ger's hair, they must be killed the moment they are caught. All right, I'll listen to you. Old Master Ling quickly agreed. On the way. You're not afraid? Ruda always felt that this girl was too calm. It's not the first time. Bei Yunji was calm and collected. Lu Da couldn't help but take another look at Bei Yunji, and a dark light flashed in his eyes. Miss, I know your ability. It would be a pity if you died. Bei Yunji glanced at him. You want me to betray you? There's indeed no burden to communicate with smart people. Lu Da's eyes lit up. With your ability, you're highly valued anywhere. Miss, you should know that if those people don't let me go in the end, I can only fight to the death. But I believe that you might be able to help us escape successfully. As long as we leave this place, I can bring you thousands of times more benefits. Chapter 692. Bei Yunji's eyebrows twitched as he glanced at Lu Da. He smiled and said, It should be easy to choose between life and death, right? It's a good choice. Bei Yunji suddenly stopped in his tracks. The team members following behind him quickly pointed the wooden gun at him. What are you doing? The team member asked fiercely. But at this moment, however, Lu Da's entire body froze. He felt something cold pressing against his back. Without a doubt, it was the wooden gun. Do you want to go back with me now, or do you want to try and see who will be the first to die? Lu Da listened to the girl's half-hearted voice and could not feel her fear at all. A person who did not know fear was simply a lunatic. Do you think I'm afraid of losing my life? Lu Da took a deep breath and sneered again. He was forcing himself not to be afraid of the wooden gun pointing at his heart. Lu Da, it's been an hour. Bei Yunji's lips curled up. If I die, you guys will only turn into ashes. As soon as he finished speaking. At first, Lu Da did not understand what Bei Yunji meant. But the next moment, he heard a sound above his head. When he looked up, he saw 7 or 8 helicopters hovering. Rescue teams surrounded them from both sides. Seeing this scene, Lu Da could not help but grit his teeth. In the end, he said unwillingly, "Ricky, put it down." Ricky's face was livid. He scanned his surroundings and knew that this mission had failed. But he did not expect that the hour Bei Yunji was talking about was these. Not long after, the people from the blue and red teams saw the people coming down from the helicopters. They also saw their team emblem. Wait a minute, doesn't that team emblem look a little familiar? The people from the blue team whispered. Not long after, another team came down from the other side. Within a few minutes, everyone reacted. It's Falcon and Wolf? No way, Falcon and Subdue Wolf have both appeared? Everyone could not suppress their excitement. These two teams were the legends of the district. Who didn't want to join these two teams? Just as everyone was feeling reserved and did not dare to go to the two big shots of the two teams, the captains of Falcon and Wolf walked up to Bei Yunji. "Miss Pei, are you all right? I heard from Elder Zhong that something happened to you, so I rushed over." The captain of Team Wolf, Tan Nan, looked gentle. His skin was fair and clean, which did not match his profession. However, his eyes were very dark, as if they could see through people's hearts. "I'm fine." Bei Yunji handed the things in her hands to White Bear. At this moment, the captain of the Falcon squad couldn't help but ask, "Miss Pei, how old are you? You've been running around all day and even come to a place like this?" The captain of the Falcons, Lu Zhongzhou, was the younger brother of Captain Lu, who had helped Bei Yunji collect evidence against Fu Yanbai. He had a good relationship with Bei Yunji. Bei Yunji. I didn't want to come. Then what are you doing here? Experience life? Lu Zhongzhou put on a fake smile. If Bei Yunji got hurt today, his brother would not forgive him. Not far away. When everyone saw that the famous captains of the two districts actually knew Bei Yunji, they could not help but be shocked. What kind of social circle was Miss Pei in? Everyone she knew was a big shot? At this moment, Xiang Hongtao was standing not far away, his expression a little ugly. He looked at the two idols he had set as his goal, and they did not hide their concern and sympathy for Bei Yunji. He clenched his fists. Chapter 693. After Tan Nan got someone to take these foreign people away, the two of them asked Bei Yunji about the specific incident along the way. The main reason was that they were afraid that there might be a hidden reason for bringing Meng Liang out of prison this time. It was because of Bei Yunji. To the people above, Bei Yunji was much more important than Meng Liang. The two of them were not on the same level at all. After that, everyone was envious when they saw Bei Yunji being brought to Falcon and Wolf's helicopter. What kind of identity does Miss Pei have? Why do even God Tan and God Lu seem to have a good relationship with Miss Pei? Someone could not help but ask Chinhu. They don't just seem to have a good relationship. Look at God Tan. I've seen him on a mission once before. He's so cold. When he spoke to Miss Pei just now, wasn't his tone too doting? As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Shui, who was beside him, could not help but look at his companion. Old Guo, are you interested in God Tan? F*CKU. Heroes should appreciate each other, don't you know that? I'm still envious of White Bear. When he was on a mission just now, no one wanted to protect Miss Pei. Now, Miss Pei brought him to God Tan and God Lu. When everyone said this, they believed a truth. Fools have fool's luck. In the end, White Bear, that silly boy, benefited. On the helicopter. So, Elder Zhong threw you here? Lu Zhongzhou was shocked. When he and Tan Nan were on shift at the Computing Institute, they had also seen how Zhong Shenglin doted on Bei Yunj. Even Professor C from the computing department of Yun University next door would take the blame every time he fought with Bei Yunj. However, they did not expect that the person who sent Bei Yunj to the district would be Elder Zhong. Bei Yunj bit the biscuit that Tan Nan had just handed her. Her slow-eating manner was especially pleasing to the eye. The men from Falcon and Wolf could not help but look at Bei Yunj lovingly. Miss Pei was really too beautiful. 22nd Literature Network, even the way she ate the biscuits was adorable. This also led to the need to fight for a spot to protect Miss Pei every time they came to the Computing Institute. White Bear felt the loving gazes directed at Bei Yunj. Was Miss Pei the team favorite of Falcon and Wolf? Why did it seem like all these almighties liked Miss Pei? Miss Pei, why don't you come to our camp? Our security is stronger, and we can protect you better. At this moment, Lu Zhongzhou still did not know what Bei Yunj had done just now. No need. Elder Zhong will let me go back in a few days. There was an inexplicable sense of confidence in Bei Yunj's tone. All right. Lu Zhongzhou nodded. Subsequently, when they returned to the district, everyone's eyes widened when they saw Bei Yunj and White Bear alight from Team Wolf's helicopter. Why would Team Wolf and Team Falcon appear here? These two teams usually don't go out on missions at the same time. Not far away, old Master Lung also had mixed feelings. As one of the higher-ups in the district, he could not get these two brats to move. It was not as useful as Elder Zhong's special situation at the Computing Institute. Why is old Master Ling here? Tan Nan and Lu Zhongzhou greeted old Master Ling. Chapter 694. I'm fine. Bei Yunj said. Turn around. Zhong Shenglin gestured for Bei Yunj to turn around and let him see if she was injured. Bei Yunj turned around obediently. Even Bei Yunj's sleeves were a little torn. Zhong Shenglin heaved a sigh of relief. It's good that you're fine. Zhong Shenglin changed the topic and pulled Bei Yunj back. He was so angry that his expression changed. Lung, look at what my girl has suffered. These words made old Master Lung's heart skip a beat. But in the next moment, Zhong Shenglin said angrily, her sleeves are torn. What if she hurts her hands? Do you know how important these hands are? Old Master Lung was speechless. Very good. This old man had gone crazy. At this moment, when the others saw Elder Zhong in front of them, they were even more in disbelief. Miss Pei and old Master Zhong knew each other too. What kind of identity did she have to know so many immortals? Elder Zhong, when can I go back? Bei Yunj thought that after today's incident, it was time for her to end her days in the district. She came and left on the same day. This was indeed the best plan. Just as Zhong Shenglin was feeling vexed and sorry for Bei Yunj and was about to agree to Bei Yunj's request, a low voice sounded. Miss Pei, it's my honor to meet you for the first time today. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and turned around. She glanced at a handsome and gentle man in a white coat. You are? My name is Cui Hingchuan. I'm a doctor. The man curled his thin lips. Although Cui Hingchuan did not point it out, Bei Yunj roughly knew what was going on. Bei Yunj turned around. Elder Zhong, when can we? Miss Pei, do you have time to treat you to a meal today? Cui Hengchuan's voice sounded, interrupting her. Bei Yunj's eyes twitched and she said slowly, I don't like to eat with people I'm not familiar with. These words were very straightforward, but Cui Hengchuan was not embarrassed. Just now, he did it because Bei Yunj would at least give him some face in public. Unexpectedly, Bei Yunj was even more unpredictable than he had imagined. Oh, Dr. Cui just wants to chat with you. Zhong Shenglin was concerned about Bei Yunj's illness and hoped that Cui Hengchuan could treat Bei Yunj. Thus, they played matchmaker to their heart's content. However, what was unexpected was that the two captains beside her felt that a dangerous person was approaching Bei Yunj. Miss Pei is just like that. She's more straightforward with people she's not close to. Lu Zhongzhou chuckled and said, "How about this, God Tan, and I will eat with you." Tan Nen nodded. White Bear quickly added, "I want to go too." Bei Yunj, in the office. Dai Dan, I've already applied for a transfer for you. You're more suitable for a civilian job. Old Masterling said. Hearing this, Dai Dan clenched her fists instinctively and bit her lip. After a while, "Why? Is it because I didn't perform well enough, or did someone say something about me?" With that said, Bei Yunj and Qin who appeared in Dai Dan's mind. "No one said anything about you. I watched the entire mission." Old Master Lung said calmly, "After Yunj gave you the topographic map, did you really successfully locate the enemy again?" These words made Dai Dan's face pale. "Dai Dan, I don't want anyone to joke about their companions' lives at the front line." Chapter 695. Old Master Lung, the transfer procedures can be completed today, Old Master Lung said calmly. Dai Dan pursed her lips. At the very least, Old Master Lung had given her some dignity. Otherwise, if she was transferred for disregarding her companions' lives and destroying the mission, she would be finished in the future. How did Miss Pei get her hands on that map? Dai Dan could not help but ask before she left. When Old Master Lung heard this, he roughly understood why Dai Dan was acting abnormally. As a top student from Yun University's computer science department, Dai Dan was also known as a top student. She was one of the best in the computer science field. However, when Bei Yunj came, Dai Dan's pride was thwarted. However, some people's abilities were God's favorite gift. There was no way to compare them. Dai Dan, don't compare yourself to some people. Some people are born in the clouds, Old Master Ling said in a deep voice. However, people in the clouds might have to bear some so-called price. In the restaurant, Lu Zhongzhou said, "Miss Pei, don't you think I'm quite loyal? If you don't want to eat with that weak doctor, I'll help you." "Then do you think I'll want to eat with you?" Bei Yunj smiled faintly. Lu Zhongzhou was speechless. Why didn't young ladies these days know how to appreciate kindness? "Then I won't say anything." Lu Zhongzhou felt wronged, but his expression was very cold. He was obviously unhappy. But who would have thought? Hearing this, Bei Yunj only nodded and found a seat to sit down. This smooth action made Lu Zhongzhou's body freeze. Pretentious. Tan Nen glanced at him and walked over. "You're the pretentious one. You're a quiet freak," Lu Zhongzhou retorted fiercely. At this moment, many people were looking over. 80-90-inch Miss Pei's things. Cui Hingchuan handed a small stack of bound paper to Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj flipped through a page and already knew what it was. Her medical records. However, it was not complete. "I hope Miss Pei can look for me tomorrow afternoon." Cui Hingchuan only said this one sentence before he continued to eat quietly. Bei Yunj didn't find it noisy at all. On the contrary, the atmosphere was unusually harmonious. Only Lu Zhongzhou had been eyeing Cui Hingchuan covetously. He felt that Cui Hingchuan was not a good person. The night, Bei Yunj returned to her room and casually threw her things on the table. She saw a corner of the business card. She picked it up and glanced at it. Cui Hengchuan was the director of a psychological research institute. He should be quite famous. Otherwise, Zhong Shenglin would not have let her come all the way to this place. Bei Yunj put it on the table again and didn't pay much attention to it. The next day, she didn't look for Cui Hengchuan. She just strolled around the district with nothing to do. Because he knew Bei Yunj's identity, Captain Gao did not make any more demands on Bei Yunj. Instead, he turned a blind eye to it. As long as Bei Yunj did not cause any trouble, it would be fine. After all, it wasn't that he didn't see Zhong Shenglin aggressively settling scores with old Masterling because Bei Yunj's sleeve was torn yesterday. Elder Zhong even dared to argue with old Masterling, let alone him. Besides, if anything really happened to Bei Yunj in his hands, it would really be over. But if this continued a few days later, the district was not peaceful again. The young man from the cooking squad came over aggressively and complained to Captain Gao. Chapter 696. The reason was that Pei Qian would encourage the military dogs in the district to steal food from the kitchen. There was also one time when the young man in the kitchen discovered that his favorite big golden retriever was chewing on a plastic bundle of noodles. The noodles kept dropping, but the culprit was wagging its tail as it walked towards the door. Only then did they discover the culprit. Moreover, the most difficult thing was that when they found the culprit and were about to correct him, this person was more proactive than anyone else in admitting his mistake. With a pair of beautiful and clear eyes, it was hard for people to say anything harsh. But the next day, they saw two big golden retrievers shuttling back and forth in the kitchen. One was biting on a rope with eggs, and the other was biting on a bottle of milk. Their black eyes swept across them cutely as they trotted out. Their crime methods were despicable and very daring. "Captain Gao, where did you find this ancestor?" The young man was miserable. This was the first time he had encountered such a thing in so many years. Captain Gao's eyelids twitched. One had to know that this person would not do anything good. Captain Gao was slightly helpless. This person was sent here by old Master Lin. What? The young man felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Then won't my noodles, eggs, and milk be stolen every day from now on? Captain Gao couldn't bear it. He turned his head, coughed lightly, and ordered, "Tell the people below to keep an eye on the military dogs. Don't let Miss Pei come into contact with them." The people present suppressed their laughter for some reason. This was the first time such a young lady had come to the district. However, compared to the rich young masters who came, she was even more of a headache. But Big Gold and Little Gold both like Miss Pei very much, the team member muttered softly. At this moment, the young man smiled slightly. Big Gold and Little Gold are fed meat by Miss Pei every day. How can they not like her? Everyone, Captain Gao, I believe in your ability. Let Miss Pei go back as soon as possible. This is not suitable for her. The young man said seriously. Captain Gao, if possible, he also wanted to send Miss Pei back as soon as possible. However, he didn't know what old Master Lung and old Master Zhong were thinking. They felt that putting Bei Yunj in this place was beneficial to Bei Yunj. But in reality, leaving Miss Pei here would only be disadvantageous to them. Moreover, every few days, Falcon Captain Lu Shen and Wolf Captain Tan Shen would come to see Miss Pei. She was indirectly warning him that he had to take good care of Miss Pei. Who would dare to cause trouble for her? A few days later, Bei Yunj had just come out of Cui Hingchuan's office as usual, and her beautiful eyes were slightly bloodshot. "Miss Pei, are you all right?" White Bear asked cautiously. She felt that every time Bei Yunj came out of Cui Hingchuan's office, she was not in a good state. Her eyes were colder than usual. No one dared to look him in the eye. Bei Yunj glanced at the White Bear. Most of the coldness in his eyes dissipated, but the blood vessels in his eyes did not recede so quickly. "Yes. I remember that Dr. Cui is very knowledgeable in psychology. Miss Pei, you are..." Before he could finish his sentence, White Bear roughly understood what kind of illness Bei Yunj had. White Bear changed the topic. "Can it be cured?" "Maybe." Although Bei Yunj said this, her expression was very calm. She was already very satisfied with her current state. No matter how bad it was, it would not be worse than before. White Bear remembered and quickly handed the strawberry-flavored milk he had hidden in his pocket to Bei Yunj. After Bei Yunj took it, she shook the pink milk in her hand and raised her eyebrows at him. Chapter 697. Miss Pei, I asked a friend of mine to secretly bring this back for you. White Bear scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. Big Brother Bear, are you sure this isn't your daily stock? Bei Yunj smiled lazily as she asked. White Bear was speechless. Could he go back on his word? Bei Yunj thanked White Bear, opened the straw, poked a hole, and slowly bit on it. Is the set of speed training exercises that I taught you before suitable? Very suitable. I got 9th place in the assessment. White Bear's eyes lit up. Miss Pei's set of exercises was amazing. Previously, their team was often at the bottom of the assessment because they did not pass the test in speed. But according to Miss Pei's training speed, they achieved great results in a short period of time. Miss Pei, did you create this? White Bear could not help but ask. Bei Yunj paused for a moment and smiled. It's an old friend. A few days later, Sergeant Gao and the young man from the cooking team looked expressionlessly at the simple scooter that White Bear and Bei Yunj had created. Soon, they saw Big Gold and Little Gold happily dragging the scooter and running around the district. At first, the young man and Sergeant Gao did not quite understand what the scooter was for. In the afternoon, Big Gold and Little Gold stuck out their tongues and sat obediently in front of them. The young man looked into the scooter tentatively. It was a small piece of paper. Can you give me some fruit and milk? Thank you. Sergeant Gao and the young man were speechless. Good heavens! Was she already asking for it? After filling the scooter, the young man unconsciously lit a cigarette and looked at Big Gold and Little Gold's departing figures with a weary expression. Sergeant Gao glanced at the young man. Just as the young man was stunned and realized that he could not smoke, Sergeant Gao said, "Give me one." The young man was speechless. He remembered that Sergeant Gao had not smoked for several years. However, another afternoon, on the training ground, Bei Yunj was bored to death. After bathing Big Gold and Little Gold, she was combing their beautiful golden fur. When some of the team members passed by, they couldn't help but glance at Bei Yunj. Although the cook and Sergeant Gao were not very happy, they still liked this kind of unbelievably beautiful girl. It was simply the most refreshing scenery in the entire district. He just didn't know when it would happen. The discussion around them seemed to have quieted down. When Bei Yunj stood up and turned her head around, she was surprised to see a man's shiny black leather shoes and perfectly ironed trousers. Looking up again, she saw his handsome and noble features. His pair of pale-colored eyes were abstinent, revealing an inexplicable sense of aggression. The corners of his upturned eyes were seductive, and his posture was lazy and carefree. No matter where he stood, he was an existence that no one could take their eyes off. He was refined and arrogant. Bei Yunj, on the other hand, glanced at the mole on the man's sexy Adam's apple. This man's appearance was like a human's. Bei Yunj was the first to react. She was still thinking about the man's appearance. The others couldn't help but discuss. How did this gentleman get in? Someone not far away asked in confusion. It was not easy for outsiders to enter this place. Old Master Lung was also puzzled. Back then, the news of Bei Yunj entering the district was planned to be kept a secret. No one outside knew where Bei Yunj went. Then, how did this young man find her? Chapter 698. The man's gaze was indifferent as he casually glanced at Bei Yunj's wet clothes. Sir, the person you're looking for is? Miss Pei? The female team member, who was originally in high spirits, suddenly froze on her face. Yes. After the man replied indifferently, his low and magnetic voice sounded. Yun Yun. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Yun Yun? Wasn't he calling her too intimately? Moreover, the man's voice had a special magnetism to it. It was inexplicably flirtatious and seductive. Bei Yunj walked in front of Huashidu and looked at the water stains on her body. Her gaze inexplicably drifted as she called out, Brother? Everyone? Was this still the unruly Miss Pei they knew who liked to torture people? Wasn't she too obedient? Huashidu stretched out his hand lazily and naturally brushed Bei Yunj's hair away from her ear. Is it fun? Bei Yunj felt that this question was not ordinary. She said sincerely, I want to go back. Everyone was stunned. This was the first time they realized that Miss Pei was so obedient. It was also the first time they realized that someone was actually standing together with Miss Pei. For some reason, the atmosphere was inexplicably harmonious and sweet. After Huashidu found out that Bei Yunj had left, he used his connections and found Bei Yunj's exact location. He had originally thought that this young lady would suffer a little here. However, he did not expect to see this young lady happily playing with the two golden-furred animals as soon as he saw her. All right, good girl, go pack your things first. We're going home. Huashidu habitually scratched Bei Yunj's chin and smiled calmly. Bei Yunj responded and immediately returned to the dormitory. Everyone was still thinking about how the man had scratched Miss Pei's chin just now. Wasn't this scene too doting and sweet? Similarly, Cui Hingchuan, who was standing beside Zhong Shenglin, also saw this scene clearly. As a psychiatrist, he could clearly feel that Bei Yunji's attitude towards this man was very different. It could be said that she relied on him. At this moment, Cui Hengchuan's gaze darkened, but Huashidu walked towards Zhong Shenglin. His deep voice was gentle and pleasant. It was neither friendly nor cold. Elder Zhong, it's an honor to meet you for the first time. My surname is Hua. The man handed the gold-stamped business card to Zhong Shenglin and said in a light tone, "The little girl is noisy and not suitable for this place. It's better for me to bring her back and discipline her." Zhong Shenglin was stunned when he saw the name on the business card. Huashidu, the youngest president of the Hua Corporation. Suddenly, Zhong Shenglin remembered that Si Qingyan had complained that Bei Yunj treated the Hua Corporation too differently. So that's how it is. Who lives with you? You're her brother? Zhong Shenglin's mind was a mess. He didn't know how Ger had anything to do with the Hua Corporation. He was also the most rumored young president of the Hua Corporation. However, Zhong Shenglin knew very well that Bei Yunj only had 3 brothers. How could there be a 4th brother? When the man heard this, he only smiled and answered the first question. She lives with me. However, this answer was inexplicably ambiguous. Cui Hengchuan's eyes darkened. He never thought that Bei Yunj would actually know the young president of the Hua Corporation. Cui Hengchuan subconsciously clenched his fists. Chapter 699. So that's how it is, Zhong Shenglin nodded instinctively. He sized up the dignified man in front of him a few times. Zhong Shenglin felt very satisfied. Such a man was impeccable. Whether it was his appearance, ability, or family background, no one could find fault with him. Not long after, Bei Yunj had just finished preparing her things when she saw a girl from the district talking to Huashidu. She narrowed her beautiful eyes, feeling an inexplicable eyesore. White Bear, who was beside her, was originally very reluctant to part with Bei Yunj, but when he saw Bei Yunj's unhappy expression, his heart skipped a beat. Previously, when he saw Bei Yunj with such an expression, someone must be in trouble. But today, it seemed different. White Bear glanced at Bei Yunj and followed Bei Yunj's gaze. He did not expect to see Huashidu. The simple-minded White Bear felt that something was amiss. Wasn't that Miss Pei's brother? Why did Miss Pei look unhappy as if her boyfriend was chatting with another girl? After thinking for a moment, White Bear probed, "Miss Pei, is this your brother?" But Bei Yunj did not even turn her head as she continued to look at the person not far away. Fortunately, Huashidu seemed to have only heard what the girl said just now. He quickly turned his head and had no intention of chatting. "I keep feeling that Miss Pei doesn't seem too happy when your brother is chatting with another girl," White Bear said straightforwardly. Bei Yunj was silent for a moment before she laughed lazily. "Yes, because I have a brother complex." White Bear. Miss Pei had a brother complex with her personality. White Bear felt that his perception was damaged, but not long after he subconsciously asked, "What if your brother gets married?" Bei Yunj paused. Not long after, she turned to look at White Bear. "You seem to like to mention things that I won't be happy about today." Miss Pei, wake up. Brother complex has no future. But not long after, White Bear followed Bei Yunj. Along the way, he was worried that Bei Yunj might be smart, but she would eventually go down the wrong path. At this time, Huashidu took Bei Yunj's luggage and asked unhurriedly, "Do you have anything to say to me?" Bei Yunj changed her clothes and put on a white baseball cap. Hearing this, he lowered the brim of his hat and glanced at the people around him. "I'm leaving. Goodbye." Everyone, very well, there was no need for such a fervent farewell. Only White Bear was the most sincere. He took out all his snacks in front of the captain and let Bei Yunj eat them on the way. Bei Yunj was silent for a moment before she took it. She did not tell White Bear that the trunk was filled with her snacks. I still have something to tell you." Old Master Lung suddenly called out to Bei Yunj and called Bei Yunj to the side. After giving his instructions, Bei Yunj returned to Huashidu's side. When she saw the girl beside her looking at Huashidu reluctantly, she looked away. On the way, The man sensed the girl's faint gaze and subconsciously curled his lips. Yun, control yourself when you're outside. Bei Yunj glanced at the man's side profile and chuckled. Brother is so popular. Even Bei Yunj herself did not understand why she was looking for trouble again. After thinking for a while, Bei Yunj cleared her throat and was about to apologize. Suddenly, she heard the man's deep and pleasant voice ring in her ear. Popular. Chapter 700. Bei Yunj glanced at him. Just as she was about to organize her words and say something, the man's gaze landed on her. The man's unwavering gaze fell on her body. Suddenly, his thin red lips casually curled up and he bent down. For a moment, the surroundings were filled with his cold and pleasant scent. Before Bei Yunj could come back to her senses, her hand was covered with a layer of warmth. It was the man's warm and dry palm that gently held her hand. It was different from the deliberate intimacy in the past. It seemed to carry some kind of indescribable hidden emotion. It was sudden and unusually passionate. Just like the man's deep and magnetic voice at this moment, it sounded in her ear, causing Bei Yunj's heart to pound and her ears to gradually heat up. Why are you blushing, Yunyun? Bei Yunj. The corners of his lips curled up as he looked at the angry little girl. Huashidu's slender and well-defined fingers wrapped around her hand. His voice was light and his posture was inexplicably ostentatious. His eyes gradually darkened, but they were explicit and ambiguous. Why would my Yunyun need to snatch what she wants? Bei Yunj was almost scalded by the man's gaze and immediately looked away. She struggled a little. But seeing that the man was holding her hand tightly, she did not feel awkward anymore. Huashidu looked at the little girl with her head lowered. He did not know what she was thinking about. He wondered when this child had been unhappy just now. Not long after, Bei Yunj heard the man's low and indifferent voice and said slowly, Miss Huang just now was asked for help by a friend. He added, she helped me bring her home. Bei Yunj looked at him. I'm not angry. The man curled his lips and said lazily, is that so? Then I was happy for nothing. What are you happy about? Bei Yunj looked at him subconsciously. At this moment, the man had already opened the car door and touched Bei Yunj's head, careful that Bei Yunj would knock on the door. Happy brother, do you have a chance to coax our Yunyun? With that said, the man closed the door and returned to the driver's seat. Bei Yunj, why was it that every time this man spoke, it felt like he was playing with a cat? Not long after, Bei Yunj glanced at the man beside her before she stared at the scenery outside and said casually, Brother, have you ever thought about dating? Huashidu almost stopped when he heard that, but then he heard her say boldly, the kind that doesn't get married. The man seemed to be silent for a long time. Even the light in his eyes was hidden. He glanced at her indifferently. He said unhurriedly, I don't plan to. Bei Yunj, sure. They couldn't continue the conversation. Bei Yunj sensed that the atmosphere was inexplicably strange, so she tactfully quieted down. But then she heard the man chuckle softly. He said slowly, we're older men, so we're more conservative. I like to fall in love with the goal of marriage. Bei Yunj nodded and commented, it's pretty good. It seems like Yunyun is planning to be a hooligan when she falls in love in the future? Huashidu raised his eyelids and looked at her. Bei Yunj. In her previous life, because Pei Junhan had an affair, when he married Meng Liang he even had a pair of children with another woman. Hence, Bei Yunj saw with her own eyes how Meng Liang was destroyed because of the man she loved the most. Therefore, the impulse that surged up in Bei Yunj towards this man in front of her was something that she had never felt before. Chapter 701. Pei Junhan had given Meng Liang an unforgettable love. Even before Pei Junhan's matter was exposed, Meng Liang's students would always mention this handsome, elegant, and affectionate man in front of Bei Yunj. However, his affectionate relationship was fake. Otherwise, he wouldn't have openly appeared in front of Meng Liang and Bei Yunj on her 14th birthday with his children. Later, Bei Yunj found out that her father wasn't very busy. The reason why he wanted her to be sensible and follow the nanny since she was young was because he liked the children that the woman outside gave birth to for him more. Pei Junhan would be like an ordinary father. He would send the children to school, take them to the amusement park, and praise them because of some unworthy honor. As for her, no matter how much honor she received, she couldn't compare to Pei Junhan's illegitimate children. Because of this matter, Meng Liang had once gone crazy. She had brought Bei Yunj to the higher-ups of the Pei family and mocked and humiliated Pei Junhan's children. They were as stupid as pigs. But in the end, Pei Junhan lost his mind and threw the cup on the table at Meng Liang. But no one expected Bei Yunj to stand in front of Meng Liang. Seeing the blood on Pei Yunj's forehead, Pei Junhan finally panicked. He wanted to coax his daughter not to tell others that he had attacked Meng Liang and her for the sake of his illegitimate children. But when Grandpa Pei barged in and hugged Bei Yunj with heartache, he heard the 14-year-old Bei Yunj say calmly, "Grandpa, in terms of ability, Pei Junhan and his children are just defective products. Only I can afford the Pei family." This was a 14-year-old girl talking about her father and her half-brothers and sisters. Grandpa Pei's heart ached. He brought Bei Yunj back and chased Pei Junhan out of the Pei family. He also acquiesced to Bei Yunj's wishes. Bei Yunj knew very well how much Meng Liang had sacrificed for that ridiculous marriage. This was a lesson learned from her predecessor's mistakes. Bei Yunj had always felt that feelings were the best thing to avoid. She couldn't possibly make the same mistake as her mother. But now, she seemed to be facing the same choice as Meng Liang. If they continued forward, they would either be like moths to a flame, or they would get what they wished for. Bei Yunj subconsciously glanced at the man's side profile. But she wanted to get what she wanted. The next day, Bei Yunj asked Song Yao out to play. After filming her scene, Song Yao turned around and saw Bei Yunj waiting outside the venue. She smiled. When she was done, her agent pulled her aside and asked, "Little Song, do you know that girl? She's really good-looking. She looks like a superstar." The agent couldn't help but exclaim. With the development of society, it was easy for beautiful faces to be the same. However, Bei Yunj's appearance was undoubtedly the most stunning. Her bone structure was perfect and she was very recognizable. His looks were off the charts. With a bit of polishing, he would be a movie star. Even if he didn't have time, he could rely on his face to become a top-notch celebrity. "Sister, her family can buy 10 companies like ours in one go." Song Yao smiled gently. "You want to take her in as an artiste?" The manager was speechless. She didn't deserve to be disturbed. He couldn't afford to hire such an ancestor. So, Song Yao saw that Bei Yunj's expression was not too good as she was reading her comments. Because Song Yao looked like a little white flower, she was very popular with boys, but there were many haters. She had just debuted and there were already many haters. They felt that Song Yao must be a scheming girl. P.S. I'll make up for it tomorrow morning. Chapter 702. Song Yao smiled and pretended not to know. "What are you looking at?" Bei Yunj took back his phone and glanced at Song Yao. "Nothing. I'm picking you up for a meal." At this moment, everyone present could not help but glance at Song Yao and Bei Yunj, their gazes curious and strange. They had been wondering why this new actress looked like a little white flower and was so indifferent to everyone. Today, she only saw Song Yao smiling when she was with this girl who came to fetch her. There were even 2 sweet dimples on her cheeks. At other times, no matter how gentle and beautiful Song Yao's eyes were, there was a faint indifference in them. At first, everyone suspected that Song Yao had a sugar daddy. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had such an opportunity to be the 3rd and 4th female lead in a big production. Although she was not the main lead, her exposure was shocking. However, just as everyone was guessing if Song Yao's sugar daddy would come to pick her up today, an even prettier girl came. Her posture was lazy, but her eyes were only on Song Yao from the beginning to the end. It was unbelievable. It was difficult for the friendship between female celebrities in the industry to reach this level. After Song Yao and Bei Yunj left, someone asked in a daze, "This can't be Song Yao's sugar daddy, right?" The assistant director beside him could not take it anymore. "Are you crazy?" He looked like this and was a sugar daddy? What was with the lesbian romance? But the watch on that girl's wrist is worth tens of millions. Hearing this, everyone noticed that the girl who seemed to be dressed in a low-key manner had a branded watch from our nation. And this brand usually only served a few rich people and the royal family in our nation. That watch seems to be a joint design of VMO and our nation's top fashion company, right? I remember that the circulation is only 5 yuan, but why haven't I seen her version before? Hearing everyone's discussion, the manager immediately sent a message to Song Yao. 3-2, Xiao Song. Is Song here? Is the elder young lady beside you so capable? I heard that the watch she has is worth tens of millions. It's a joint design of VMO and our nation's top fashion company. Really? Really? The manager was extremely excited, but Song Yao glanced at it and put it back in her pocket. She pulled Bei Yunj to buy 2 cups of milk tea. When they came out, Bei Yunj smiled and said, "Tintin, your phone has been vibrating for a long time." Song Yao was already used to Bei Yunj calling her that. Since Bei Yunj had said so, she could only take it out and look at it again. Song, ignore me, ignore me. As long as your friend is willing to create hype with you, I guarantee that she'll become an A-lister. Could it be a fake watch? Song Yao's eyelids moved and she replied, "It's not fake. She wouldn't create hype." However, the manager seemed to not understand human language and said something that Song Yao could not understand. Why is she so nice to you? It can't be for no reason. Could it be that he has other intentions towards you? That's true. Women might not be able to resist your innocent looks. Song, listen to me. As a person, you have to seize the opportunity. You have to choose to accept what you have to accept. Of course, that elder young lady is really good-looking. You're not the one who's at a disadvantage. Song Yao was speechless. Was he crazy? This was the first time Song Yao could not help but curse in her heart. It was not rare for same-sex celebrities to fall in love in the industry. Chapter 703. However, in the next second, the manager changed the topic. Is that watch real? I think those 5 watches don't look like the one elder miss is wearing. Song Yao was speechless. The fashion company the manager was talking about was Jasmine's father's company. Song Yao knew Bei Yunj well. Bei Yunj would never use Jasmine's imitation. Bei Yunj inadvertently glanced at her chat and leaned over to say, "My watch? Jasmine's father gave it to me." She did not know much about watches. She just thought that it looked quite pleasing to the eye, so she wore it. Song Yao was speechless. That person in power actually gave it to her personally. "Yunj, do you know Jasmine's family too?" Bei Yunj replied, I know his grandfather too. Last time, Tich and Jasmine's parents, including their grandfather, had video called her alone. However, she was working on a project and hung up after chatting for about 10 minutes. She could understand why a student's parents would want to talk to her about something like this. After all, it concerned Jasmine and Tich's future. However, hearing this, Song Yao felt that something was strange. Did she meet his parents? "Yunj, you and Jasmine are..." Song Yao hesitated. "Don't think too much." Bei Yunj's eyelid twitched and she stopped biting the octopus ball. "I used to work on projects with Jasmine and Tich, so I know them." With that said, Song Yao's hands trembled unconsciously. But it was not unexpected. After all, her Yunj could even do something like recommending someone. It didn't seem strange that she knew Jasmine and Tich's parents and grandfather. 12-inch right, this watch is for you. Bei Yunj remembered and took out a box from her pocket. "It's from Jasmine's family. I sent an extra one." Jasmine talked to Bei Yunj for a long time before Bei Yunj agreed to not tell Song Yao that he was the one who sent this watch. After all, it was impossible for Jasmine to give something to a girl to be cheap. However, Song Yao would definitely not accept anything too expensive. Bei Yunj's watch and Song Yao's watch were not in the number of releases. The only difference was that the one Bei Yunj was wearing was handmade by a famous designer from the VMO industry. As for Song Yao's design, Jasmine had stayed up all night for a month to learn how to design from that designer. The professional part was still handed to the VMO team. Song Yao's thin eyelids moved. Is this extra? Bei Yunj turned around and saw the carvings on the watch. Yes, Bei Yunj. She thought that Jasmine was just not clear-headed occasionally and had written half of the report about Song Yao. She did not expect that the moment he encountered Song Yao, the thing on his neck became a decoration. Bei Yunj suddenly thought of another problem. She lowered her head, turned on her watch, and looked inside. Bei Yunj. At this moment, Song Yao was a little strange. Yunj, why are there 2 more dots on your letter? Fortunately, Song Yao did not think too much. Maybe it wasn't designed by one person. Bei Yunj was very calm. Song Yao furrowed her eyebrows. Then what's with this watch? Did you give it to me or did Jasmine give it to me? Bei Yunj took a deep breath. Song Yao nodded and was relieved. She held Bei Yunj's hand and said, "Buy me a fake watch next time. It's too expensive." Chapter 704. Hearing this, Bei Yunj turned and glanced at her. You're a female celebrity and you're wearing a fake watch? What's wrong with that? When the time comes, I'll be on the trending list again. Song Yao's eyes were gentle and pretty, but her words were very thorough. Bei Yunj was speechless. Her mentality was quite good. You definitely didn't ask me to come over today just to have a meal with me, right? Song Yao felt that Bei Yunj seemed to be very busy too. Sometimes, it was very difficult to contact Bei Yunj. Yes, there's something. It's not easy to make up my mind. Bei Yunj finished the meatballs slowly and was about to poke another one when she suddenly heard Song Yao's stomach growl. In order to maintain her figure, Song Yao paid more attention to her diet. Even the drinks she bought at the milk tea shop were sugar-free lemonade. Song Yao's face flushed red immediately, but Bei Yunj turned around. Open your mouth. Hearing this, Song Yao was stunned. She opened her mouth instinctively and was stuffed with an octopus ball. It had been a long time since she had eaten something so sweet. After Bei Yunj threw the box into the rubbish bin, she said, "You're very beautiful now. You don't need to lose weight anymore." Song Yao was 164 centimeters tall and weighed less than 90 kilograms. Besides, Bei Yunj's eyes landed in front of Song Yao, intrigued. Aren't they all growing where they should be? Song Yao's ears turned red and she immediately pressed Bei Yunj's hat down. Her gentle voice was angry and shy. Hooligan. Bei Yunj, whose eyes were dark, was speechless. Pretty good. She had been called a hooligan for 2 days in a row. Bei Yunj and Song Yao strolled as they went to the restaurant, not noticing that people on both sides were paying attention to them. So, Bei Yunj and Song Yao came to a restaurant. "Miss, would you like to have a private room or eat in the hall?" The waiter asked with a gentle smile. "Single," Song Yao interrupted her. "The hall is fine." Then, the waiter hesitated for a moment and glanced at the black card in Bei Yunj's hand that she had yet to take out. Did she have to eat in the hall even with a VIP card? "Big sister, let's go to the main hall." Bei Yunj's lips curved into a smile. "We'll save as much as we can." The waiter, do rich people nowadays like to pretend to be poor? Was the VIP card in her hand something that could be bought with money? Song Yao suddenly said, "Miss, swipe my card." Bei Yunj, not long after. Bei Yunj looked at the menu and ordered dishes that she usually didn't eat. However, when Song Yao saw it, she ordered more expensive dishes. He didn't care about his salary card at all. "I've ordered everything you like. I didn't know if you liked the rest, so I ordered the most expensive one." Song Yao blinked. Song Yao was indeed capable of dealing with Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj wanted to save money for her, but she wanted to let Bei Yunj know that she didn't mind spending money for her. Bei Yunj was silent for a moment before she laughed again. "All right, thank you, Boss Song. What is it that you can't make up your mind about? Is it about relationships?" Song Yao guessed right. Actually, this was not difficult to guess. However, Song Yao didn't think that Bei Yunj couldn't settle other things. Relationships. Bei Yunj hummed in response. However, she did not notice that the old man sitting at the table next door suddenly trembled. as if he was suppressing some kind of excitement. Someone you like? Song Yao was a little curious. Yunj, who do you like? Actually, there were many outstanding boys around Bei Yunj, but Song Yao inexplicably felt that none of them seemed to match Bei Yunj. Seeing that Bei Yunj did not speak, Song Yao probed, "Is he from your school?" Chapter 705. Bei Yunj was silent for a moment. "No, he's already working." Song Yao asked again, "Which company is he working in?" "Ho Corporation." Song Yao was surprised. This was the largest company in the country. "What position?" Bei Yunj said, "President." Song Yao said, a young president in his mid-20s? Bei Yunj was not satisfied. "He's not 25 years old. There's only a difference of 4 years." Song Yao was speechless. At this moment, Song Yao felt like she was living in a dream. The president of the Huo Corporation, this was not on the same level as the tycoons she knew in the past. Song Yao could not help asking softly, "Do you like him a lot?" Bei Yunj thought for a moment. "I think so." Song Yao was speechless. Song Yao was a little confused by this answer. However, not long after, Song Yao changed her question. "Then do you want to do something intimate with him?" Song Yao was a little embarrassed to talk about kissing. But who knew? Bei Yunj was silent for a moment before she suddenly laughed. Her bright and beautiful eyes were a little unruly and deliberate as she said slowly, "I do want to sleep with him a little." Instantly, the innocent girl froze and her ears turned red. "But it's a little different." Bei Yunj took off her hat impatiently and combed her black hair casually. "What's different?" Bei Yunj seemed to be silent for a long time. She glanced at Song Yao and looked away. "If he gets close to me, my ears will heat up." Song Yao was speechless. Fortunately, it was just a casual remark. She was really worried that Bei Yunj would really roll onto the bed if she liked a man. "Then you like him?" "Yunj, what are you conflicted about?" Song Yao asked. Tian, do we have to be together just because we like each other? What about after we get together?" "Get married." Song Yao did not hesitate. Bei Yunj looked at her and did not say anything. "Yunj," Song Yao hesitated. "Do you want to date more?" Bei Yunj narrowed her eyes. "No. Other than Huashidu, no one else would be able to get what they wanted." Song Yao thought for a moment and held her hand unconsciously. She said with a smile, "Yunj, I can't give you an answer to this either. But wait a little longer, you will know the answer." The Bei Yunj that Song Yao knew was arrogant and unruly. Wherever she went, she was like a ray of light. However, Song Yao could also see that Bei Yunj was unable to make a decision today. It was like a resistance to the unknown. Or perhaps it was fear. But she also believed that Bei Yunj would make the best choice. Huo Corporation. "Master Du, aren't you spoiling your little brat too much?" As soon as he finished speaking, Yu Hanran felt the man's cold gaze. "Your little princess, your eldest miss, and your queen. Is that enough?" Yu Hanran slumped on the sofa, exhausted. "What are you thinking about? Getting a top-notch computer research room for your little girl?" Even if your little girl likes computers, she's only at the stage of playing online games. You still want me to contact all the developers and professors just so that your little girl can play computer games in a top-notch research room in the future? The noble and handsome man narrowed his eyes and glanced at the diagnosis and psychological evaluation results in his hand before putting them back in the drawer. He took off his gold-rimmed glasses carelessly and said lazily, "You haven't done it after so long?" "President Hua, do you know how many researchers chased me out when I went out to buy equipment?" Chapter 706. In this scientific research field, there are some people who really can't be bothered with just because they are paid. Like that professor he from before. I told him to let him bid, but he directly used a broom to chase me out. Yu Hanran said faintly, "Master Du thinks it's simple. Why don't you try it too?" In a month, he had been chased away 7 or 8 times with a broom. He felt that as a domineering CO, he was very aggrieved. "Thank you for your hard work." Huashidu only responded with a grunt. He took another document and handed it to Yu Hanran. Yu Hanran flipped through 2 pages of the contract. This was a project collaboration that he had mentioned to Huashidu several times that he wanted. But Huashidu had never agreed. But now, for his little girl, he dared to throw out any benefits. Yu Hanran sighed. I suddenly feel that my happiness is very cheap. Then do you still want this happiness? Huashidu sat opposite him. His well-defined hands picked up 2 teacups and filled them to the brim. Yu Hanran immediately stuffed the contract into his arms, afraid that Huashidu would be inhumane. Yu Hanran glanced at him faintly. You dote on this young lady so much. Do you believe that sooner or later, she will get a ladder and lift the roof of your house? Lift the roof of your house? The man looked up halfway, his tone light and lazy. Yu Hanran was speechless. There was no saving this person. Just as Yu Hanran was about to remain silent, someone suddenly walked in from the door. Old Mr. Fernans pushed the door open angrily. Huashidu, that girl is a vixen. Yu Hanran, who already knew the old man, was stunned. Then he left. He knew who the old man was talking about. She's a vixen. She seduced Master Du so badly. Yu Hanran teased. When the old man heard this, he turned around and looked at Yu Hanran expressionlessly. Yu Hanran was speechless. Okay, sorry to disturb you. Yu Hanran put down his teacup and left silently. The old master of the Fernans family was not a good-tempered person. He did not have the guts to provoke him. You went to see her again? The man's voice was low and indifferent. His good-looking and seductive eyes were filled with laziness and indifference. The old man knew that his grandson had never liked him and the Fernans family. Even his nationality was from his mother. I just want to meet your future girlfriend, right? But that girl is so irresponsible at such a young age. The old man was furious. You've clearly taken my money. Why aren't you doing anything? She returned it to you. Huashidu knew Pei Yunji's character better than anyone. But she still fooled me. How can she bully the elderly like this? The old Mr. Shidu. Shidu, you have to change to another girl. This girl doesn't look like a good girl. Huashidu did not speak. It was obvious that he did not intend to pay attention to him. At that moment, the old man panicked. Do you know? Really? The man's indifferent and noble eyes did not reveal any surprise. Instead, his tone was light and unhurried. You're not getting married either? The old man felt dizzy. If the young lady resists, I can't force her to get married in the future. It sounded like he didn't care much about it. Chapter 707. Did that girl drug you? The old man was about to explode from anger. I still have a meeting later. You should go back early. The man glanced at his watch, then looked up and said methodically, Don't find trouble with her. If that young lady is unhappy, I don't think anyone will be happy. His meaning was obvious. If the old man made that young lady unhappy, Huashidu would make him regret it. Are you threatening me? Do you think I'll be afraid? The old man stood up angrily and left quickly after he finished speaking. In the long corridor, the butler followed beside the old man and asked tentatively, Old sir, what should we do now? He had heard the conversation between the old man and Mr. Hua clearly and did not dare to interrupt. The butler's eyelids twitched. But that card has been cancelled. When the old man heard this, he held his breath and was at a loss for words. After the old man calmed down, he turned to look at the butler and asked for advice. Why don't we transfer some money to her card? The old man's eyes lit up and he felt that it was a good idea. Sure. Quickly arrange it. The butler hurriedly agreed, but he was afraid. If Miss Pei still did not agree, the old man might even cheat Mr. Hua into marriage. Why was this little girl so fast? Why don't we meet Miss Pei next time? The butler asked. Bei Yunj returned to the Computing Institute and did not realize that she had made the top 10 headlines. The title was Song Yao's private meeting with a same-sex friend the next day. The discussion topic soared. What did I miss? A little white flower can even make it to the trending searches if she has a secret meeting with a same-sex person. Did she buy it? Originally, this should have been posted by the other party to specially slander Song Yao. However, unexpectedly, because of Bei Yunj, whose face was a little blurry, the popularity continued to rise. However, these words gradually made the netizens focus on Bei Yunj and their attitude changed drastically. A sugar daddy? No way, no way. A sugar daddy's looks are off the charts these days. Even with such poor quality pixels, I can feel this young lady's divine face. No way? But I've always felt that SY has a backer. Fans, don't reply. If you reply, you're right. Little White Flower is so pitiful. Didn't she call herself an otaku killer? Why is it a sugar daddy? Cry. Haha. After watching so many female sugar daddies for so many years, Song Yao's sugar daddy is a clear stream. I announce that Song Yao wins this round. As Song Yao's fan, I didn't expect that the first time my sister Yao was praised was because of the sugar daddy's looks. Doghead, I can ask for 10 of them at once. Big sister sugar daddy, is it convenient for you to debut? Even through the screen, I feel like you're the person I love. In the morning, the manager was still trembling. Her artist had been defamed, but the public relations department might not care about her. Hashtag when will Song Yao's sugar daddy debut? Hashtag? Hashtag do I still have a chance to be liked by Song Yao's sugar daddy? Hashtag. The agent gritted his teeth, took a deep breath, and opened the office door. However, she didn't expect that there would be so many people staring at her from outside. After all, there were too many people defaming Song Yao. What's more, this time, he was directly slandered, saying that the young mistress was his sugar daddy. Is Song Yao's sugar daddy real? Before the manager could say that she was crazy, she heard another voice. I'm envious because Song Yao is definitely the first person to have a sugar daddy who has gained nearly 500,000 fans. The scariest thing was that this was only the popularity in the morning. Chapter 708. What did you say? The manager's face was filled with fear and his voice was trembling. 500,000 haters? Everyone was speechless. After a while, the staff beside her explained, they're not haters, they're CP fans. This setting was indeed very interesting. A little white flower, a third-rate female celebrity, and a good-looking rich man. The manager asked, what's? It was his first time encountering such a large-scale increase in fans. It was actually because of a rumor about a sugar daddy? Don't tell me this is your marketing? Did you hire her? After someone asked, everyone was stunned. Can I afford to hire her? The manager chuckled. That watch in her hand is comparable to our small company. Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. It was really a sugar daddy. At this moment, the expression of another female manager, who seemed to be listening unintentionally, did not look too good. Before Song Yao appeared, the entire company's resources were placed on her artist, AI Rulin. However, ever since Song Yao appeared, her resources had almost surpassed AI Rulin's. And now, Song Yao's reputation had actually changed for the better through a scandal. Wasn't this the biggest disadvantage for her? Isn't Song Yao cutting off her own future by doing this? Do you think a big director will find an artist like her? With that said, the manager left with a dark expression. Seeing this, the others felt a little awkward, but they hurriedly said, Aya, Song Yao has a sugar daddy anyway. What's there to be afraid of? Song Yao's manager's expression did not look too good. Who told you that it's a sugar daddy? That's Song Yao's good friend. Soon, Song Yao also found out about this and got the studio to release a statement quickly. She did not plan to care about anything else. However, she did not expect Song Yao to become the ultimate beneficiary of this matter. She was even angrier, until someone reminded her that her attention was on the two watches in Song Yao and Bei Yunj's hands. In the afternoon, they searched the books. On the headlines, there were two new terms about Song Yao. Hashtag Song Yao's sugar daddy wears a fake watch. Hashtag Song Yao's fake watch. Hashtag the ranking of the terms was neither up nor down for a long time before it suddenly appeared at the top of the list again. Shinrui Media. Are you sure there's no problem this time? The capable female manager asked. Sister Lisa said it herself. Song Yao's manager boasted in their company about how expensive Song Yao's sugar daddy's watch was. But what was the result? Sister Lisa checked and found that there was no such model. After that person finished speaking, he was somewhat gloating. Who would dare to wear fake goods these days? However, Song Yao's sugar daddy insisted on pretending that he was rich. He had a watch worth tens of millions of yuan and even gave Song Yao one. Wasn't this just asking for trouble? Then continue to release the news. I don't want an artist that has the same type as my artist to still be able to jump around in front of me, the woman said calmly. There won't be a problem this time. If they want to hype up a couple, let's see if they have the ability to do so. At the filming location. Xiao Song, where did you get this watch? The manager hurried to Song Yao's side, ignoring the strange gazes of the others. My friend gave it to me. That Missy? The manager asked. Song Yao nodded. Take it off and show it to me. Hearing her manager say this, Song Yao frowned unconsciously. But in the next moment he obediently took off his watch and gave it to her. A few minutes later, the manager was puzzled. Your watch seems to be real. It has such a model. What's wrong with your Missy? Chapter 709. Maybe it's not within the range of release. Song Yao thought for a moment. The manager was speechless. Was this what she meant? What did it mean that it was not within the range of release? He still did not know which wealthy family in the country could get in through the back door on a product jointly released by our nation's #1 fashion company and VMO. Did something happen? Song Yao regained her senses and immediately snatched her manager's phone, wanting to see the headlines. Then, just as the manager was panicking and did not know how to explain, she looked down and realized that there was no black post on her phone. What's going on? Where's the black post? The manager was stunned. This was the first time she had encountered such a strange thing. Song Yao's eyelids twitched. She felt that her manager was acting strangely and returned the phone to her. In Xinrui Media, the expressions of the staff changed. What the F***CK? The assistant who had just chatted with the director asked. What's wrong? Song Yao's post. That person was stunned. They're all gone. Even our accounts have been banned. Hearing this, the assistant's expression changed and he immediately questioned, Are you kidding me? How can you be banned? The 20 to 30 accounts I have are all gone. That person looked sad. Call them and ask. The assistant was anxious. However, they did not expect that when they called the company to ask, the other party was not as polite as before. Instead, they said that they had posted too many illegal things today, so they were banned. Besides, those accounts would not be returned in the future. The staff of Xinrui Media was furious. Do you believe that I'll sue you? It's up to you, but let me remind you that no matter where you post the draft today, there won't be a second result. With that said, the other party hung up and did not even have the intention to say anything more. But at this moment, they had already regained their senses. Previously, they had posted many posts to step on Song Yao, but nothing had happened. But today, all of their accounts had been banned. It was obvious that they had posted someone they shouldn't have. Everyone felt an inexplicable chill run down their spines. In the past, there had been many sugar daddies in the industry, but such a thing had never happened. But what was with Song Yao's sugar daddy? Who was this person? Did she have such a strong background? How could this be? The assistant murmured with a pale face. But that person's pixels were so blurry. This couldn't be considered exposure, right? Why was there such a tight security measure for that person? So, the director of Xinrui Media also found out about this. Her expression did not look too good as she quickly called her acquaintances. However, she didn't expect that her friends, who were usually so close to her, would all avoid her like she was a snake or scorpion. Even the company's partner who was in the middle of signing a contract had broken the contract at the last minute. This made the director's hands and feet turn cold. For the first time, he felt that he had offended someone he shouldn't have. Who was Song Yao's sugar daddy? I really didn't expect that I would personally report Master Pei's scandals one day. Si Qingyan clicked his tongue. What a messy company. They don't even know who they're messing with. Zhong Shenglin sneered. The importance that the higher-ups attached to Bei Yunj was no less than the secrecy of the nuclear engineering experts back in the day. Chapter 710. Si Qingyan thought for a moment and found Jasmine on their private messaging app. He sent him a message. So, Jasmine's father's company, the Lorenzen Corporation, issued a global statement. Lorenzen Corporation, thank you for your support for the joint watches of Lorenzen and VMO. We will continue to contribute everything to the fashion trend. In addition to releasing 5 watches, the chief designer, Theodore, also gave his annual work to a talented young lady. Picture: after the message was sent, when everyone left comments, they realized that the official account had been broken in the comments section. Lorenzen Corporation, congratulations to Mr. Theodore for successfully chasing after a celebrity. The big boss said that Mr. Theodore must treat us to a meal. Picture: the photo released by the Lorenzen Corporation's official account was indeed more exquisite and designed than the other 5 watches. In the comments section, the photo posted by the Lorenzen Corporation was very blurry. They could only see a watch that Theodore had personally designed on a slender wrist. It was obvious that the owner of this photo was the young lady mentioned by the Lorenzen Corporation. Everyone was itching to know what kind of god it was. It was actually a watch that Master Theodore had personally designed. On the other side, when XNRui Media saw that screenshot with bad pixels, they instantly felt terrible. Wasn't that a screenshot of Song Yao's sugar daddy's photo they had taken? It was actually designed by Master Theodore himself. The people in the public relations department were stunned. Where did Song Yao find this sugar daddy? Was this sugar daddy an immortal who had descended to the mortal world to undergo a tribulation? Why didn't you investigate more? The director was furious and swept the things on the table to the ground. Director, that watch was just issued by the Lorenzen Group. The assistant felt wronged and flustered. Meanwhile, the female director's heart was already in a mess. What should she do? Song Yao's man actually had such a powerful background. In the future, how would she dare to do anything to Song Yao? Bei Yunj, who was in the research lab, did not know that the weather outside had changed. Seeing Bei Yunj walk out, Si Qingyan was still sitting by the long corridor and whistling. Master Pei, how is it? When will the project end? Initially, Si Qingyan only wanted to tease Bei Yunj. However, unexpectedly, Bei Yunj glanced at Si Qingyan. It's not a big problem. After this project is done, I can take a break. Si Qingyan couldn't react in time. Wait, what are you talking about? How long will it take to finish your project? 2 or 3 months. This project is quite big. Bei Yunj unconsciously raised her eyebrows. Marcus has a project and needs my help. After I finish this project, I'll follow up on his project. Compared to Bei Yunj's first project, the progress of Bei Yunj's project this time was indeed quite slow. Others, on the other hand, would spend decades on a single project. Why was she acting as if she was trying to get results? I heard that Marcus's project has been going on for 2 years. Are you sure you can finish it by the end of the year? Si Qingyan asked hesitantly. Until the end of the year? Bei Yunj frowned unconsciously. Then how could she take a break? In her previous life, Bei Yunj had also worked on this project frequently, making the people in the industry stay away from a devil like her. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.